Hello, I'm Rowan, the creator of the Synthstrom Audible Deluge. I'm going to show it to you today in conjunction with a whole lot of other gear that I have set up here to use in one sort of large performance setup. Over here on the left we have the Roland TR8 drum machine. I'm MIDI syncing the two, so the TR8 is going to be the MIDI clock master. The Deluge is slave to it, it's going in the MIDI input there. I've also got the Roland SH101 synthesizer being controlled via CV out of the Deluge, CV and gate, channel 1, and the Yamaha CS5 over here being controlled via CV and gate, channel 2, and the Moog Slim Fatty over here being controlled via the Deluge's MIDI output. And the Deluge also is going to be playing its internal sound. So if I hit start on the Roland TR8, the TR8 is playing a beat there, and the Deluge is playing in sync. It's just playing this top track here, which is just that synth string drone you can hear. So I'm in the Deluge's song view, and in song view my tracks are occupying one row each, so just that top track is playing right now, which you can see with the green pad there, and the 3 tracks below are not playing yet. But I'll start one of them now. So this next track down is the Roland SH101 track, and that's a bass sound. So that's CV, control voltage and gate, going out of the Deluge straight into the SH101. Now I'm going to start the track for the Yamaha CS5. all the devices being used together in a performance. I'm going to show you a little bit more now about how CV and gate are set up on the Deluge. So various different devices, as you'll know if you're familiar with CV and gate, require slightly different CV and gate sort of standards in terms of the number of volts that is sent out in the case of CV, and also the polarity of the gate outputs. Deluge allows all of this to be set up very easily. So the master settings menu is entered by holding down Shift and holding down on the pressing down on the select or settings knob. Takes us into the settings menu, and there are a number of different options we can adjust, including gate, CV, clock, and some more. Going into gate, we select which gate output we want to adjust, output 1, and we can now change it between V-trig, which sends a positive voltage to indicate the presence of a note, and S-trig, which indicates a note via the 0 volts and sends a positive voltage the rest of the time. As you can hear, as I did that, it changed the polarity, and now the SH101 is making a note when we don't want it to. So I'll change that back to V-trig, because that was around the right way. Going along to the CV settings, we first select which CV output we want to adjust. Output 1, say. We can adjust its mode, which at the moment is 1 volt per octave. We can change that by the 0.01 of a volt. This will probably sound a little bit strange. So this just completely wrecks it. So, and I'll turn that filter off. So I'll turn it down. So if we have it set to the wrong volts per octave, then we stop hearing actual musical tones. We just get sort of a weird scale like that. So the SH101 is intended as a 1 volt per octave synth. If you turn it all the way down to 0, you can also switch it to hertz per volt mode, which some synths require, not the SH101, so this sounds really weird on the SH101. But you can do that for those synths that require it. For each CV channel output, you can also adjust the transpose and semitones. I turned that one down a bit. And the scent adjust for tuning. Creating actual CV and MIDI tracks on the Deluge is very straightforward. So I have those example ones that I'd made there previously. I'll show you the process for making a brand new one. If I make a new track, which in Songview you do just by tapping a pad on an unoccupied row, I go into that track. By default, it's a synth track. That's the Deluge's internal sounding. If I hit the CV button, it becomes a CV track, and I can select, just with the select knob, whether I want it to be CV channel 1 or 2. CV channel 1 and 2, 1 being the SH101 and 2 being the Yamaha CS5. You can also go into that keyboard mode and play that CV output to the synthesizer with the 2-dimensional keyboard. And likewise, if you want the track to be a MIDI output, I've got that MIDI output going to the Moog Slim Fatty, you just hit MIDI, and you can then select which channel you want to send on, and I've got the Slim Fatty on channel 1. The Deluge also allows you to have each track have a completely independent length, so I'm just going to go back to Songview, delete that extra track that I made there for demonstration purposes. I'm going to get that sequence playing again. So for instance, if I go into that lead melody there, which is playing on the Yamaha CS5, zoom out to the maximum zoom level, maximum out zoom level, 16th notes. If we wanted to make this sequence shorter, we can do that easily by holding Shift and turning the horizontal knob. And it's now shorter than all the other tracks. Let's get that beat going again as well. yeah. The Deluge has a fairly unique feature called sync scaling that allows it to reinterpret an incoming MIDI beat clock as a different number of beats than just the 4 or 8 or whatever number it is intended by the sending device. If I start the TR8, make a new track on the Deluge. I'm in a new track right now. I'll make it a CV track just so we can get something happening. CV channel 1 going to the SH101. If I enable sync scaling for this track and then change the length of the track, it starts to sound kind of weird, and you can use this for some really cool effects. So what is happening is that for every entire bar that the TR8 is sending in, the Deluge is cramming the entire length of this track, which I just shortened, into the length of that bar, which is 7, 8 notes long at the moment. So you can hear it's restarting now. And now. Despite the fact that it's a really weird length, I'll get these notes a little bit more regular so you can hear that a little bit more cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. While the TR8 is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I can make this any length I like. What even is this one? 11 16th notes long, and it's still cramming all of these into the exact same amount of time that the TR8 is sending out its whole bar. There's 5, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, while the TR8 is sending its entire bar. So that's a useful feature you might be able to use to make some cool rhythmic effects. Another feature of the Deluge is tempo magnitude matching, which is a feature which people might find useful even if they're not super familiar with the idea of 16th notes, 18th notes and BPMs. Maybe if they're a newcomer to electronic music creation or music in general, or possibly if they're doing something involving a loop pedal, say as a clock source. This is maybe a more obscure scenario, but something where the BPM of the clock master might come in at an unexpected rate and you don't want the whole thing to play too fast. For instance, if I make a basic tune, or even just a repetitive note on the Deluge, I've made a brand new song here. I'm currently at 120 BPM. I play that. Now with the TR8 over here, which is still plugged in as the MIDI clock source, as the MIDI master I should say. Now if we set this to the same BPM initially, 120, then of course as soon as we start playing with this, the Deluge and the TR8 play in time with each other, as you'd expect. But this cool tempo magnitude matching feature comes in if, for some reason, someone had gone and turned up the tempo on the TR8 to 240, double what the Deluge is expecting. When you hit play on here, the Deluge will not play twice as fast unless you deactivate this whole feature. It will instantly detect that the MIDI beat clock is coming in at double the speed that it expects and adjust accordingly. So the TR8 is playing really, really fast, crazy fast beat. The Deluge has detected that that's happening and gone, no, 240 is double what I was expecting, 120. I'm going to halve that down, and it's done that instantly, so it's still playing along at the same speed as before, which is now half the speed of the incoming MIDI beat clock. The tempo can still be adjusted on the TR8, say, and the Deluge will slow itself down with the incoming MIDI beat clock, no problem. It's every time you start playback that if the beat clock is coming in at a greater or lesser speed than expected, it will readjust, and this can happen if it's double the speed, half the speed, 4 times the speed, a quarter of the speed, or any sort of whole square number, multiple or division the incoming speed. Or if you wish to deactivate this feature, you can go into the settings menu, and it is under clock, magnitude matching, currently switched on. You can switch it off if you don't desire that feature. The Deluge can also be used as a MIDI clock source, so I've just swapped that MIDI cable around, so it's now going from the Deluge to the Roland TR8. So now when I hit play on the Deluge, the TR8 plays along in time to it, and any tempo change I make on the Deluge will go along to the TR8 as well. You could use this to get faster tempos on the TR8 than you could normally get. Not sure at what point it's going to break. Okay, the TR8 going 1920 BPM. TR8 slightly lost time, but I suppose that's to be expected when you send it at crazy fast BPM over 10,000.